Welcome to Fix My Ship, the place where we navigate through the storms and calm the waters of every kind of relationship, whether it's family, friendship, dating, marriage, or even workplace connections. No matter the issue, we believe every ship can be repaired with the right tools. We hope you enjoy this episode, and if you do, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a chance to grow with us. Let's fix some ships together.
I will, but I never still sought for it because I felt that if I get it and you don't, then it's of no good. That's how I felt. Maybe it would have, but I always feel like outside counsel would do us very good because my thing is, if you get it out of your head, talk it out, you can see it, you can talk it through. But if you keep it here in your head, it gets in your heart, and then you would act a different way. So I feel that counseling or whatever they want to call it, therapy, is does wonder when you stuck and it's like, what's going on? I don't understand. It's beyond my scope. Never experienced. You talking a long time marriage? You know, they don't tell you. They just what they call it, the vows. In sickness and in health, for better or for worse. You just saying stuff. You ain't thinking about the for better, the for worse, the sickness and health, for richer, for poor. You just okay. We just going through the ceremony. You know, because you don't see. You see boyfriend, girlfriend. You never saw husband and wife, and then nobody was sharing anything.
You want to say something?
Go ahead, I'm thinking.
So, is all counsel good counsel?
No.
Oh, all right. Oh, I barely finished the question, but okay. Explain.
Because I remember one time going to the church.
Church lady.
Going to the church because of a situation that was going on at home. And I think, and this is my belief, that men think they, especially when you try to bring it up, you say, I think we need help. And they're like, okay, well what's the problem? Well, what went on? Oh, that was no issue, you know, and it's like, wait a minute. You know, I'm trying to, it's like no further question or investigation, you know, but I remember we were taking a class in counseling because it was required for our ministerial license or whatever. And one of the things the professor said was, you let people answer their own questions, you know. But this is why I say, if you talk it out, I've learned, if you talk it out, get it out of your head, you have already sometimes, would you say, your answer to the situation. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people don't want to talk it out, they don't want to discuss it because this is how I have dealt with it. But I believe I feel the same way, and it may be because I had talkative mom who worked around professional people, and what she gleaned from them, it was like she was trying to instill it in her kids, even though she didn't talk it, she tried to teach it.
Still in thought?
Well, no, all counsel is not good. Mm-hmm. I do know that also too, you can get different type of counsel. Mm-hmm. It's like when the Bible says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Because, okay, if I want to have if I'm a righteous person or I'm a godly person, but I seek counsel from someone who is, and I'm not going to necessarily say the person is ungodly, mm-hmm. but someone who is not married, that can become a problem because now they come from a perspective of, if that was me, I would take that. But when you start to have counsel with other married people, mm-hmm. it becomes different because now, number one, the first thing you recognize is, I'm not alone. oh, that happened in your house too? I thought it was just me.
Oh my God.
Like, oh. And how you say, and I'm sure men have the same aha moments as well, like, oh, your wife do that too? You know, you be like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's just some things that are common to men, you know, and so that even in itself, when you start to have those revelations or um, um, moments of God letting you know, like, hey, you're not alone in this. This is something that is common to man, and how you start to deal with things and how you respond to things. Because now I have someone else who is experiencing some of the similar situations. So now I have a point of contact and say, hey, well, what do you do when that happens? Or, well, how do you respond when it happens? And now I start to glean and say, okay, well, I don't know if that would work. You know, well, maybe I might, try this or thing. So now it gives me options, right? To say, okay, now I can go because, okay, well, maybe I can't afford to go to the therapist or to an actual professional counselor. Another thing that I know that also helped was when the church would have marriage groups. A lot of churches don't offer them, but they are a wealth of support when you have ministries that allow for safe spaces that I can come and I can talk about things that are private, that are a safe space, and I don't have to worry about hearing it. I don't have to worry about my husband hearing what I shared with the other women or somebody confronting them. It stays there. So I do know that when my parents had the church, it was a safe space and we could talk about those things in marriage ministry. So those gave us another opportunity. And I can remember when my grandmother would be like, wow, if my grandmother right now, she's 94, but I remember her saying to me, if I had what you all have right now, I don't think I would have got a divorce from my husband, because you all have a community. You all have where you can share and you get a different perspective, and you say, well, you know what, now I can go back. So, how you say, when you think of counseling, don't just think of counseling in one way. Counseling comes in many different forms and ways, that I can get good godly counseling and be open to say, hey, this is very helpful. You know what, let me try to see if I can, take this back home, and maybe, I want to be a better wife. You know what, hey, she said she pray over here. This one over here, well, can you come and pray and agree with me? I read this book and how to be a effective praying wife. Okay, well, let me pray. Yes, we all have our struggles, but you want to just make sure that you are at least making an effort to improve, your marriage, and being open to receive. Because I also think too, you got to be open to receive the counsel and things that people are saying. Yes.
Okay. If you still have more, you can keep on going. I got all night. I don't have to be to work. I go to work at 4:00 in the morning, and it's about 5 in the afternoon, so I'm good to go. Did you want to add something? Because I have some things that I want to bring up from what we discussed, but I want to take this in a whole another direction in a minute. From what it is we said,
feed in.
Okay. So I'm sitting here with the three of us. First of all, there's over 100 years of marriage at this table. Over 100 years of marriage just between the three of us at this table. And the question that I am posing is the church a safe space for marriage ministry? Why or why not?
I would say it can be a safe space because you make that agreement in marriage ministry, and I would say this: when we separated the men from the women, the safe space looked like it was more, and I don't know about the men's side, but when the women got together and we expressed, it was, I remember one of the women said, I came in with the attitude I wasn't sharing anything. So, but once we started, and she was the last person to give her input, it was almost like D. Rich says, wow, now I can try something different. And this was a person that her and her husband sleeping in two totally separate places, and it was like, okay, let me try something different. So I think it can be the safe space, but you glean or you earn the safe space in those ministries. I haven't heard of any marriage ministry become a safe space, because I think you always need that outlet. And you said, I think it was, why do I feel that it's a safe space? Mm-hmm. Because people are always hiding and they don't know where to share. But when, like I say, when we are transparent as the leader of that ministry, it causes others to say, wow, it gets your guards come down. And you're like, okay, let me share, But if you go in, oh, my marriage is this and my marriage is that, my kids, and like, oh no, I ain't sharing nothing. So, but when we become transparent, it causes others to open up and share.
So the other, I got a couple of sides to that, because I play the devil's advocate when it comes to that answer, and I'll let D. Rich go in a minute. One is, we're overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Mm-hmm. And I think in church, I don't even necessarily advocate of bringing testimony service back.
Correct.
But we don't have that sharing time, even if it's during the middle of the week. Mm-hmm. And living in South Florida, that is definitely an issue with getting people sometimes to come together, because we always have so many things to do. And I think a lot of people that do go to church and are in ministry down here are in the community, and they are busy with their time. So it's like you really have to honor and respect people's time. But I think we don't share enough in testimony, or how we have really overcome when it comes to our relationships, particularly in marriage. I just wanted to add that in. So I think a lot of people don't, they're not able to hear that. So I'll let you go, because I have some other things to talk about when it comes to separating the men and the women.
Well, I will say that yes, church can be a safe space. I know particularly at my church, we have women's meeting every second Sunday. So, but we share out a lot, but that's because our First Lady, she's created that space, and she tells her story a lot. So I think it becomes, like Mama said, when you are first the leader and you are the partaker, you become the first partaker of it. It puts down those walls, right? To first be like, oh, okay, wow, she's willing to share something very vulnerable about herself. So now, when someone else is bold enough to say, well, since you was willing to share, I'm gonna share too. And as those walls start to come down, the layers, start to come down, and people start to open up, and then that's how you say, you get the connection, and people start to, again, like I say, you start to see just how much you have in common, and I think a lot of times, especially as women, we look at each other and we can roll our eyes and be like, she thinks she cute, she thinks she this, she thinks she that. But a lot of times we have so much more in common, but because we the enemy keeps us blinded with that foolishness, we don't have enough. We haven't had enough time to spend in each other's space to become naked before each other and say, hey, you know what? We got a lot more common than not. And to say, you know what? Wow. Because I've had people come to me before, like, you know, people told me this about you, but what they told me about you is totally opposite of what I've learned about you. And I said, well, I'm glad you took the time to learn me for yourself, you know. And I was like, so that becomes another thing too, because sometimes when you go to churches, you know, especially if somebody invites you and things like that, they're giving you a perception of the people in the church. Oh, well, be careful of this person, and this person ain't no good, and this person is a liar, and this person is this, and this person is that, you know, and you're like, well, I just got here. Okay, I get it. Hey, we good. I know you invited me. I love you. But I want to learn the people for myself. And that can be, and now you all have a rift with each other, because I need to learn the people for myself so that I can build relationship, and I'm trying to learn the people in the church. Because I want this to be a safe space for me too. So it's all these different dynamics of church, even just coming to church, you know, and trying to fit in and where I belong and what ministry and what purpose do I serve. Now you're talking about women's ministry or marriage ministry. And am I able to open up? And I'm new here. I don't know them. They don't know me. Is it okay if I share this? Are they going to look at me funny? You know, so I had one incident where the girl, firstly, they had us writing down to our future self and to our future, whoever, daughter, granddaughter, whoever. But she was like, I want to write something down, but I don't know. I don't want nobody to judge me. I said, you may need to do that because somebody needs to hear it. And so she wouldn't do it. And then someone across the room began to share their testimony. See, and this is why I started saying, like you were saying about testifying. And she started to share, and she was like, excuse me, I gotta admit something. And so then she began to share, but then, so now all these tears are in the room, and she starts to share, and I said, hey, I got something to say too. And so then I was like, listen, I told you needed to say it. I said, but I needed you to understand, but what God wanted you to understand that when you are disobedient, because he put that unction in your heart and you didn't share it, then what happens is he gave it to someone else who would obey him. And now you was like, oh, okay, Lord. I said, but again, I needed to hear that story. I said, I needed to hear your story. You needed to hear her story. I said, but I needed your story. I said, because it was for me. It was something you had, and it was for me. I said, because I needed to be encouraged. I said, because it was something for my child. I said, so again, how it goes back like to that counseling. Sometimes we don't even realize, even in the midst of sharing our stories or things that we go through, God be healing and ministering, and things that we prayed in our private time, God be speaking, you know, but we be wanting to hold on to it too, and then we're not being obedient, and then that person can't get what they need because I don't want nobody to know. And God be saying, I need you to tell it. It wasn't just for you. It was to heal my body. It was to edify the body. Yes, I know you may feel like, oh, but this is so embarrassing. But it wasn't for you. It was to heal somebody else.
And it's only embarrassing until you share it.
Yeah.
And you see how that's how they do with the paparazzi and the news, all of that. It's like, no, let me tell it before you tell it. So if you again, testify, overcome. That's how you know that you have overcome. It's really for you, and that's why I even had it in the last episode, which was, if you do not share your failures, that's what makes it a failure. If you have something that you feel like, okay, this is what I was unsuccessful in, it's only unsuccessful if you stay in that moment. Once you move past, move on, go through, it is no longer a failure. And then if you start sharing it with other people, then it becomes a success. And I think that's what people are scared to get over, that hurdle. But to go back to, is the church a safe space for marriage ministry, and just thinking about other people that are on the other side, listening to what it is that we're saying, who may or may not be people who go to church or used to go to church, whatever the situation is, they have an issue with church. I want to say that I think that at some times and at some churches, it is not a safe space. And what we have seen go on in the media when it comes to certain scandals, I can see why people would say that church is not a safe space. So I think, how do we talk to those people who say, right now, y'all are supposed to be representing God and y'all are the worst ones out there. Look who you all are associating with. I wouldn't even associate with people like that. How does that affect our witness as the church when we start talking about marriage and the sanctity of these relationships, all relationships? How do we minister and convince, and I don't want to say convince, but compel those people to say, hey, don't turn your back on the church?
Well, I think number one, because we deal with such a world that is engraved in technology, we have to learn to respect privacy. And I think there comes a time where you have to turn it off. I think sometimes in those moments of private moments or those intimate moments, everything don't need to be recorded. I think we record too much, and so everything is left for opinion. Sometimes, hey, the pastor is giving a word, but you should have had, all right, praise the Lord, all right, y'all out there, bless the Lord, turn that off. All right, now minister to the person. So I think we have to be careful that we're not wanting to be stars or famous or clicks or likes, and we have to turn that stuff off. And now we got to focus on, hey, we are ministers of the gospel. We are here to minister to this soul, to this spirit, to uplift this person, because I'm not coming to be a spectacle. And I don't want my deliverance or my, what I share to be your moment to share with everybody on your page. Like, no, it was a private moment that I really felt moved. I never felt like this before. I don't know what y'all call it, the Holy Ghost, the Spirit, whatever that is. Just, I know it was something, it was different, it felt good, and I shared, and now all of a sudden I see this on social media. My job is calling me. I ain't like that. No, this was private. No, I got a problem, and I feel them, because everything is not for social media. Everything is not. It's some stuff.
Thanks for selling with us today on Fix My Ship, where no relationship is beyond repair. If something spoke to you, challenged you, or helped you see things differently, do us a favor. Like, comment, and subscribe so you stay anchored to truth and growth. And don't forget to share this episode with someone whose ship might be drifting. They just might need this too. Until next time, keep your heart open, keep your mind renewed, and your ship headed in the right direction. Peace and progress.